Wow, that was
the instrumental
hard, bro.
switch up was
so
nuts.
sick.
That was hard as fuck.
Yes,
bro.
that's exactly why I'm here.
That was a clip from our first reaction to Drake's new album, Honestly, Nevermind. And if you guys want to check out the entire reaction, it's available now on our Patreon plan. Link available in our description. And we do album reactions every week for new releases. So going into this album, surprise drop kind of came out of nowhere. But anytime we get new Drizzy music for the summer, it's a celebration. So what were you thinking going into this, man?
Well, I expected it to be different, and there was the whole rumblings of it being a dance album, and that's what you ended up getting, right? You got an album that was influenced full of dance music and EDM cuts, and honestly, like going into the album, I expected it, but I didn't expect him to tackle it in this way, where he was really immersing himself into it. Like, this doesn't feel like, you know, a more, like, I would say maybe a More Life Part 2, where you just have a bunch of like passion fruits and like get it togethers everywhere, you know? Like, it's a lot more than that. And I also feel as if he kind of attacked it in a different way, where he wasn't maybe even his own centerpiece to his own album. Like, that's kind of how I'm feeling right now about it. But
yeah,
what are your initial thoughts, like, after a first listen right now?
Listen, I've been saying for a while that I wanted like Drake to focus on one sound for the entirety of an album, and he does that for the most part here. I mean, besides the last song, the outro, Jimmy Cooks with 21 Savage, he does stick to that dance sound for the entirety of the 14 tracks. And he did a pretty good job because, like you were saying, even though it was a dance album, he incorporated different styles and sounds in terms of Afro beats on some songs, dancehall, EDM. So it was cool to see him kind of play around and kind of experiment. And like we were saying, it's cool to get a different Drake album for once, where he's really honing in on one sound. And in terms of his performances, it was interesting because I feel like there was a bit less emphasis on the vocals and more emphasis on the instrumentals that had so much time to ride out. And the progression of the beats is something that I really enjoyed too, because you got your beat switches, you got your crazy guitar licks. And yeah, I was really impressed by the production, I would say, more than anything else on the album.
Yeah, and that's what I said at the beginning of this video too, was like, I feel as if he wasn't even, you know, the centerpiece of his own album. I really do feel as if it was that production.
Did you like his performances though?
I do, because I think that, you know, they were minimalistic, and it's not going to be complicated in writing. Like, you're not getting Tuscan leathers all over the place, and I think that's what a lot of people, you know, are expecting. And let me know your first expectations on, you know, going into this album, guys, because yes, I understood that he was probably going to do dance, but I didn't expect him to do it this way. So actually diving into this track list, I want to say this. The 3-song run from A Keeper, Calling My Name, and then after that Sticky is fucking fantastic. I really do feel as if that's where the track list does pick up, because Falling Back is not too great. Text Go Green is a good song, and then Currents, I'm not sure. I'm going to have to see how it lives with me. But how about you looking at this track list? What are you taking out of it? And, you know, what did you enjoy, and where do you feel as if maybe you could work on for next time if you were to make another dance album?
Yeah, it was interesting. The intro was nice because it kind of set the tone and the mood of the album. Apart from that, Falling Back wasn't that great, just because I feel like he was singing with that falsetto and wasn't really hitting his notes that well. Calling My Name is probably my favorite song on the album. Tie That Bind was really good because you got this guitar lick which sounded Carlos Santana inspired, and I kind of added to that Latin dance feel. Liability was really cool too, because he was kind of like altering his vocals.
A lot of reverb on that song. What would have been interesting is that if you would have maybe released the second part to Liability, where, you know, there's no reverb on that and it's, you know, strictly the song. And even talking about the mood of this album, I feel like, you know, when you go into it, you have to immerse yourself into the soundscape, or else you're not going to really vibe with it all that much. And I don't think this is an album geared towards hip-hop listeners. It's something completely different. So
not even geared towards the mainstream either, which is interesting. Like, I don't feel like there was too many attempts to have those hit songs where you had those sticky choruses, you know what I mean? Like something you would have gotten on Controlla or One Dance. Because on some of these songs, you don't even really have hooks. You just have these refrains, these bridges mixed in with the verses.
And not only that, but there's also a lot of instrumental breaks within a lot of these songs where, you know, either it's Black Coffee or 40, you know, really riding out a production. And also a lot of production credits as far as Carnage goes as well. He did his thing on here too. And I also love something like Overdrive, and I believe that was exclusively produced by, hold on a second, I believe it was, Alex Lustig, 40, and Black Coffee and James Bryan. Yeah, that was one of the best songs on the album for me. And this is kind of cool because I feel as if, like, this is the track list that I wanted for the summer. You know, this is something that I'm going to want to play as background music in a lot of different settings. And people are calling it elevator music, you know, shopping mall music and, you know, changing room music. You know, you hear all the banter already coming through. But I like that type of music for my summer rotation because, you know, while I'm doing work, let's say making thumbnails, or let's say, as I was saying before, making scrambled eggs in the morning before I get my day started, I like a lot of, let's say, K-Tronada stuff, you know, something that I could put on in the background where I could just groove, or even Black Coffee stuff. So to see Drake's version of that is cool, and I also liked how he finally got out of that pocket of having, you know, to make like a CLB, and he really just experimented with his sound this time. So
Yeah,
that's what
it was definitely enjoyable, and I think it's perfect timing to drop this in the summer. I think that it's going to get a lot of radio play. It's going to be played in the clubs a lot. For myself, yeah, I could see myself kind of just vibing out to this. It has kind of this nighttime and nocturnal vibe to it just because of how atmospheric the production is. I feel like it's easy to be immersed more into the soundscape rather than Drake's performances, even though he did have a lot of solid performances. And what's cool, too, is that I feel like Drake's singing has this signature sound to it, in the sense that, like, something that he does which is pretty unique is that, like, he'll deliver the same line twice back to back, but he'll add a refreshing vocal inflection or delivery and change it up from one line to the next. So that was pretty cool to see too. But
not only that, but a writing style that I caught onto in the album is, like, you know, how he'll repeat a couple lines over and over again, and then after that, for the last time that line is mentioned, he'll cut the line in half, where you kind of have to guess for yourself what it's after, but you know what it is because you've heard the lines in full after. So I like that as well.
And what did you think of the writing on the album? Like,
very
obviously,
simplistic. You know, it was very simplistic,
expected.
Romantic. You know, a lot of stuff that you might catch on songs like "Not You Too," off of something like Dark Lane demo tapes, or it's just very surface level writing from Drake. But, like, how are you gonna infuse lyricism with this type of production? Would be almost impossible.
Exactly.
So that's what I didn't come here to expect. But let me ask you something, all right? As a Drake fan, how did you like this switch? You know, how did you like the switch in sound path that he chose for this, him trying to tackle something new? Did you appreciate this as a Drake fan?
I did appreciate it. Honestly, like, it wasn't really what I expected. I expected to get more cuts like Get It Together or Blem off of More Life. I was kind of expecting...
But you are kind of getting those sounds, but now formatted much differently too, because a lot of these songs are 4 to 5 minutes long, and that's perfect for, you know, even lounge music, to where you just want to hear, you know, instrumentals that are written out and where you could just vibe to them. So how did you like that as well?
It was cool. I feel like the track list, after, like, you know, after just the first listen, it seems like everything kind of blends together in a sense. And yeah, it was cool. I like what he did in terms of just keeping things simple, but I don't know. I feel like his singing was different here. I feel like he kind of maintained this mellow tone throughout it, and that was pretty cool. But what did you think of Jimmy Cooks being on this track list with 21? Because it's the outlier off the album, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I'm not too big of a fan of it. And I know a lot of people are probably going to come at me for that, but I don't care. Like, I went through it, and the beat's all right. I mean, it was produced by Vinyls and Take Keith, and I believe also Q Beats. The production was nice, but it was just pretty standard. I feel as if 21 did get him, though. 21 definitely had a better verse. Yeah, and I love the beat switch on it. That was really cool. The tempo automatically switches when 21 comes through on it. How do you like this new Drake flow that he's going with? You know, you heard it on the first verse. Would you be comfortable getting an album full of those types of flows?
I mean, yeah, it was good. I like what he did on Sticky. I thought the flow on the first verse there was fire.
I was talking, more in context of Jimmy Crooks. Like, you know, that first flow that he was going with. You heard it on albums like CLB and a bit on Dark Lane demo tapes. Do you think it's an area that's a flow that he should continue using, let's say, on future projects?
It's cool. I mean, it's more, you know, Southern hip hop inspired, and you kind of got that with what I believe was a 3-6 Mafia sample at the beginning of the song.
I'm not sure.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what it sounded like to me. But yeah, listen, if we needed the Drake dance album to get the Drake rap album, where he's, you know, rapping his ass off with no hooks, just giving us straight bars, if that's what's to come next, then I'm happy that we got this, because I'm down to have Drake really focus albums the way that he focused this one in terms of that one cohesive sound. So that was pretty refreshing to me. But where do you think he goes from here, man?
By the way, I was able to actually find the sample for Jimmy Crooks. It's actually, I believe, Just Awaken Shaken by Play of Flies. So that was like that little beginning that you heard on Jimmy Crooks. But what was the question you were asking me before?
Where do you think he goes next from here?
Oh, okay. I'd like to hear him like tackle just more sounds, but in a creative and coherent way like this one. Like, it doesn't have to be the best for me. It doesn't have to be, this crazy new concept. I just want to see what he's thinking creatively and how he could tackle this. So maybe this time he wanted to, just tackle dance like he did on here, but maybe it's time for a full rap album, right? Just a coherent track list. And that was the one thing that we really wanted, right? Was just that cohesiveness that was missing from CLB. Let's have it go into this track list. So do you think this is a good lane for him, to attack and to continue building, let's say catalogs on?
It's a good lane, but I mean, we always have this conversation about how Drake has so many different fan bases to cater to. Some people like this dance style, other people like the more hip hop stuff. But yeah, I just think it's cool to see him experiment and get out of his comfort zone the way that he did on this album and have more of these, I would say meditative songs in the sense that they're very slow burning tracks. A lot of these are like 5 minutes long, and that's okay because you're not really focused too much on Drake and what he's doing because you're immersed by the sounds that he brought to the table.
So what do you think would be the biggest disconnect for someone going into this album that's used to different formatted Drake albums?
Well, yeah, it's just the fact that you're not getting every style of Drake that we've gotten on Certified Lover Boy, that we got on Scorpion when you had a double-sided hip-hop and R&B album, that you got on More Life. Like, I feel like Drake has always worn so many hats in his albums, and this one, he kind of really focused in one lane, and
I think it's an interesting move for him, too, because now, like, there's an unpredictability factor to his music. It's not like he dropped a CLB Part 2 where, like, there's all kinds of different, sounds coming through and like there's different styles and he's catering to everyone. No, this was really focused. So I like that. It doesn't. I'm not sure where this is gonna place within like a discography ranking for me, to be quite honest with you. But I do think it is a better album than CLB, and I will probably listen to it more than CLB. How about you? How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I see it having more replay value than CLB, and yeah, it's perfect timing for the summer. I'm definitely gonna enjoy it. But guys, let us know in the comments, how did you enjoy Drake's Honestly Nevermind on first listen? And as we mentioned earlier, we did our first live album reaction to this album on the Patreon plan. Link available in our description. And yeah, let us know if you guys want to see us do more Drake content for this album. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.